I started as a coach 18 or so years ago, and at the time when coaching first emerged, it was really trying to distinguish itself from the likes of therapy and consulting, and so it kind of created an identity of its own. But the truth is, over the last 18 years, that identity has shifted and morphed, and it's become much more blended. And so one of the things I'd love to explore with you today as we go through the day is, what is coaching now compared to what we thought it was or what it used to be? And what is it responding to in the 21st century world that we're all inhabiting? You know, what are the conditions that we're facing as human beings that means this thing called coaching has become such a predominant force in the field of human change, which it certainly has. You know, you can see this big shift of therapists becoming coaches and consultants developing coaching skills. Why is that? What's it responding to? I would hope that by the end of today, that at least some of you will have, I say some of you because some of you might have arrived already with an open mind to this, but some of you might have had your minds opened a little bit about what coaching is. Perhaps you think coaching is about goal-centered action taking, all this kind of stuff, and achievement and blah, blah, blah. And for some people it is. But I want you to hopefully walk away today thinking, wow, coaching is so much more than this thing that I thought it was. That's the first part of my role. The second part is really to introduce you to who Animas is, how we support you to become a coach should you want to be. And there's a little critical thing we do in this day which I think is really important, which is that we separate those two parts. So all the time we're talking about coaching, we're not talking about Animas. So if you say to me, hey Nick, do you cover that on the course? I'll just say, look, we'll park that to the end. Because it feels very important to me that as we're talking about coaching, we're only talking about coaching. We're not talking about Animas and where Animas fits until the end. Now the other part of that is that at that point where we decide to talk about Animas, I'll give you an opportunity to say, you know what, Nick, it's not really for me. I've sat here, it's been interesting, but I don't really feel that coaching is for me, so I'm going to say goodbye now. If at the end you think, no, this is really interesting, I want to find out how Animas does this, then you stay at the end. So a little bit about the structure of today. It's really split into four main chunks. The first chunk up until break is really about coaching. So we'll explore what is coaching, how do you define coaching, and what is transformational coaching? You know, our course is called the Diploma in Transformational Coaching. What does that mean? Is it just a fluffy word? Is it just a word that sounds good, or does it have a specific meaning? As you'll discover, it does have a specific meaning, and we'll explore what that means. We'll take a look at the three levels of change in coaching and how different coaching styles approach different levels of change. And finally, this morning, we'll take a look at what makes a transformational conversation. In other words, what makes a coaching conversation different from, say, going down to the pub, talking to your mate about the problems you're having with your girlfriend, or the problems you're having at work, or the problems you're having blah, blah, blah. What makes that a transformational conversation rather than just a chat? And there's some significant differences in what that looks like. Good morning. After break, we'll take a look at what I call the difference in the purpose. So if you think about coaching as a sort of an artifact of the 20th century, it's emerged from psychotherapy, it's emerged from counselling, it's emerged from consulting, it's emerged from management practice, but it's different. So I'd love to look at what is it that makes it different? What are the differences that make this difference? It certainly exists within the same spectrum as psychotherapy and counselling and consulting, but how is it different? So I really want to unpick what the differences might be that you start to notice and how we address that. And then we'll take a look at what is it responding to. So as we look around the world today, and some of you might have noticed some political shifts going on around the world, what is it that it's responding to at a political level, at a social level, at a technological level? Why is it that coaching is becoming the thing that we as human beings are attracted to? What's also happened philosophically for us as human beings? I think there's been a shift for us in how we think of ourselves, how we think of learning, how we think of growth, how we think of capacity, which is meaning that coaching is the thing that responds to that in a very significant way. And then finally, I want to share with you what we think, just as a school, is the future of coaching. I don't consider myself a Nostradamus, but I'm looking at the trends within coaching, and I feel there are certain things which are happening, which as a school we're responding to, and I think the coaching profession is responding to, and then you guys, if you become coaches, will slowly have to respond to. You know, there are shifts in the way coaching is thought of, there are shifts in the way it's being bought by users, etc., which we need to start to think about. Then we'll take a lunch, and afterwards, we're going to shift focus away from what is coaching to what do you do as a coach once you qualify. So we'll take a look at the 5 main coaching pathways. We'll take a look at the coaching as a business. You know, how do you actually operate as a practitioner within a business, or how do you use coaching for social impact? One of the things we're seeing a lot of within Animas is a growth of coaches who aren't building independent practices, but are taking coaching into a social impact sphere, be it in prisons or schools or communities or domestic violence or whatever it might be. We're seeing more and more coaches using coaching as a tool within a wider social impact framework. The last little section of the day is, as I mentioned at this point, I'll let you take a little break, and if you did choose to head off home, that's absolutely fine. If you want to stay in here at Animas, then we'll spend the last hour and a little bit just sharing who are we as a school? How are we different? How do we build our community? What is our community? What is our course? How do we support you to become a coach? And what happens after you qualify as a coach with us? And I think that's really significant, that you understand how we're different. Because in the end, you don't have to look around the UK alone to see there are a number of coaching schools. How do you know who to choose if you want to choose somebody? A few additional points. I think, Karen, when do you normally do the email? Is it Sunday or Monday? Sunday. So tomorrow you get an email from Karen with a link to all the slides on here today. So you don't need to worry about taking photos or taking copious notes. You'll also get at the end, if you want to stay, you'll get a course brochure. Again, that means you don't need to take lots and lots of notes. And finally, just to give you a sense of what we expect today is the bargain, if you like, for being here today, is that all we want is an expression of interest from you as to whether you're interested in joining us. We don't expect anyone to enroll today. We don't expect anyone to commit today. We just want to get a sense of where are you in your thinking so that we know whether we need to have a conversation with you or not. How's that for a deal? Does that sound okay?